There was a hush in those mornings that we didn't have to earn. Light slipped through curtains in pale stripes, catching the dust as it floated like memory itself. We woke slowly, without the glow of a screen waiting to claim us. Somewhere between the first stretch and the sound of the kettle, we belonged to the world rather than the world belonging to us. It was peace, simple and undescribed, the kind that lived in silence and routine. The day usually started with a sound that doesn't exist anymore. The soft thud of a newspaper landing on the porch. We would open the door and breathe in the cold air, still damp from dawn, that ink and paper smell curling toward us. Sometimes we flipped straight to the comics, sometimes the headlines, but always at our own pace. The world's news didn't chase us. We went looking for it. There was trust in that delay, a rhythm that said, life can wait a little. The kitchen woke next. A kettle hissed like a secret. The toaster clicked. The smell of coffee took over everything. That aroma wasn't background. It was an event. We stood beside the counter, half awake, and talked about nothing. The weather, the neighbor's new car, maybe the weekend. It was conversation that didn't need to matter to feel real. We didn't check the time every few seconds. The day moved on its own. Music found us through the radio. A voice we'd never met greeted us by name, or at least it felt that way. Someone dedicated a song to someone else, and for a minute, it seemed personal. The DJ's laughter came through the static, carrying more warmth than the smoothest playlist ever could. We didn't skip or shuffle. We listened because each song carried a piece of the morning with it. Even the ads, silly as they were, felt like neighbors talking through the walls. Somewhere on the wall hung a paper calendar. Every square held handwriting, crooked circles, arrows, birthdays underlined twice. You could tell who wrote what by the color of the pen. When a day ended, we crossed it off, and the sound of the pen on paper felt like closure. There was satisfaction in seeing time we had lived, not just swiped away. Those pages carried months of our lives, all within reach of a thumbtack. Outside, the morning waited patiently. We'd step out with mail keys or a school bag, maybe still chewing toast, shoes pressed into dew. The air felt clean, and every sound was softer. A neighbor's wave, the flap of birds, the whisper of sprinklers on concrete, tiny proofs that the world existed beyond us. We didn't document it, we lived inside it. And if you're hearing this and smiling because you remember, then you're already part of this small circle we've built. That's why we gather here, to remember together, to keep the quiet alive. Maybe that's worth subscribing to. A reminder that peace once came free with sunrise. The stillness stretched through the next few minutes. When the house was ready, but the world wasn't. We'd sit with one sock on, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, watching the sunlight crawl across the floor. Those minutes had no purpose except to exist. We didn't call them mindfulness. We just let them happen. The patience of that time made the rest of the day feel manageable. There was comfort in being unreachable. The phone stayed on the wall, attached to its cord, a silent witness rather than a constant demand. If it rang, we answered. If not, we'd find out later. Nobody panicked over missed calls. The world waited for us, not the other way around. We were allowed to disappear into our own lives for a while, and no one thought it strange. Commutes were another kind of calm. Engines coughed, windows fogged, and the radio spoke of weather, traffic, and half-familiar songs. We looked through windshields instead of down at screens. Each red light was a breath, a moment to notice the bakery sign, or the old man walking his dog. The world moved slower, but we were part of it, aware, unhurried, alive. The noise of today hadn't yet found us. And then came that pause before everything truly began. The doorway moment, the bag over the shoulder, the last sip of coffee, the soft click of the lock behind us. We'd take one long breath of morning air, cool and sharp, and step into the day. There was a sense of trust in that step, as if the world would hold us gently until night returned. Maybe we didn't know how lucky we were to start the day in silence. Maybe we still don't. We can't go back. Not exactly. But maybe we can borrow a little from what those mornings taught us. Wake without reaching for the glow. Breathe before you scroll. Listen before you reply. The peace we miss isn't gone. It's only buried under the noise. It waits in the gap between first light and the first sound we choose to make. And if we slow down just enough, we might feel it again, the hush that once began every ordinary, beautiful day.